Daniels, he's going to keep. He's going to walk into the end zone. Here comes one to the cup. Left-hand layup, good.
Kansas is the 2023 WNIT champions.
This is the Jayhawker Podcast, presented by the University of Kansas Health System.
Welcome to another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast. I am Greg Gurley along with Wayne Simeon. The Jayhawker Podcast brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System, and we are so pumped to have a guy on here that I watched throughout my high school and college career, Tony Sands. Give you a little background on Tony. Not a big guy, kind of a Darren Sproles before a Darren Sproles, but bigger and faster and stronger. 5'6", 175 pounder, played at Kansas from 1988 to 1991. Go through a few of the accolades. Most rushing attempts in a game, 58. Big 8 Offensive Player of the Year, 1991, third-team All-American. Tony, welcome to the Jayhawker Podcast. Appreciate your time and looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Tony is going to be in town. A lot of people will be back. So, Tony, talk a little bit about what is going on this weekend here at Kansas football with you.
Listen, I get an opportunity to go in with a lot of KU greats. Some of the guys who, when I got there in 1988, I looked up to Gale Sayers, John Riggins, John Hadle. These are names that I said I wanted to be like once I leave KU. I wanted my name to go up in KU in the stadium, because I always, every time that I came out for a game or just in practice, I always looked up there and wondered, will my name ever be written at the top of this arena? And that's when you call being at the top of your game at the university that you attended. And anybody that go to any university, that's their dream. Your goal, a lot of people say, well, our goal is to go here and go to the NFL. But first thing you want to do is to leave a legacy where you started and finished your college career. And that's what I set out to do. When I got to the University of Kansas in 1988, for those that knew, I always said, man, it was tough. It was some tough times. KU hadn't had a winning season in years. And I wanted to make sure that when I leave the University of Kansas, I was going to make that change. I was going to change that dynamics, but I had to do the grind work first. There was going to be some work that's got to be done. I was talking on the phone to Coach Mason, guys. I was talking to him last Thursday because he called me and said, I'll be in town for your induction ceremony. And I said, thank you, Coach. That means the world to me. People look at what Deion Sanders is doing in Colorado. That was done before. That was already done. Mace came in and had that same mentality. It's just that during that time, it could not be publicized as it is now. So Mace came in with that mindset that, hey, we're going to be winners when you guys leave here. This class here will be the class that changed the dynamics of how KU football is looked at. And we wanted to strive to do that. Each and every one of the guys that's, like you say, that stayed with us, that wanted to be champions. I wanted to be a champion. I wanted to be a winner. I came into KU considered not winning, but once I go out, I wanted to be a winner. And that was my drive. That was my goal. Everything that I did in practice with my guys, off the field, in the classroom, was thinking about one day that I'm going to leave KU as a winner.
Well, you certainly left KU better than what you found it. You left the winner, obviously having historical records that still stand today in Kansas football, and going to be having your name hung up there in the Ring of Honor. Tell us a little bit about your journey to get to KU. If I'm not mistaken, you grew up in South Florida, which particularly during that era was a hotbed of football talent. Of course, you got programs like Miami and Florida State and SEC schools that were a lot closer to you and your family. What was your journey like in getting to KU? And then how did someone like you, with the size and the frame that you had, talk to us about the grit and the resiliency that it took to be able to play the physical type of sport of football and have the success that you had?
Well, my journey started, as you say, in South Florida. I went to one of the most prominent high schools in the country right now, St. Thomas Aquinas High School here in Broward County, Florida. Yeah, we were, when it comes to the hotbed, the mecca of sports, football, we're where they come to get speed. You want to come to South Florida. If you look around the country now, you look around the country then, guys from South Florida, we were different. We were breeded different. Our mindset, our goal, our drive was totally different. We wanted to get out. What I mean by get out, listen, we didn't have anything, right? We didn't have anything. And this was going to be the steering wheel to drive our car in the direction that we wanted to go for life. So when I was at St. Thomas, I left Broward County as Broward County's all-time leading rusher. And we've had a lot of great running backs to leave out of Broward County. I was Broward County's all-time leading rusher. Holds all the St. Thomas Aquinas records. All their records I held. But now, in spite of doing all that, I still had to struggle to be recruited because of my size. At the time, Coach Mason was at Kent State. I had met with Coach Mason once before, and when he came to me as a Kent State coach at first. I just felt my talent was above of Kent State at that time, but he was Kent State. So, I was like, okay, yeah, coach, I got you. But I'm walking out of here. I'm like, nah, I know I'm better than this. I'm putting up numbers like everybody else putting up better numbers. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh on a visit. I liked it. Kind of cold. I didn't feel it. It wasn't that right hat for me. So I came back to South Florida and I'm like, do I have to take something that I really don't want to take? I was on the hallway. Coach Smith, who was the head coach at that time at St. Thomas, one of the greatest guys that you can come across as a high school guy that needed guidance like myself, said, hey, Coach Mason wants to see you. And I say, he want to see me? I'm like, and then my mind go back, oh, this guy's with Kent State again. I'm trying to dodge and avoid him. And when I got in office, he said, no, I'm not at Kent State no more. I'm at the University of Kansas. I said, Kansas? Only thing I knew about Kansas at that time, they were getting beat by Oklahoma and Nebraska. I seen some scores where it was 80-something, 70-something. Like, I don't know if I want to go there. But, it's at the Big 8 conference. It's the Division I level. I wanted to go there. But my dream at that time was wanting to play for Florida State. That was my dream. That was my goal. This is what I wanted to do at the highest level. Got there, Coach Bowden told me, hey, listen, we can't take you. We can take you as a walk-on, but we can't give you a scholarship because we got Dexter Carter, Sammy Smith. We still got these guys undecided of what they're going to do, whether they're coming out or not. And I said, okay, Coach, good. Boom. But I feel like my talent is worthy of a scholarship. Went back home and had my next trip was to Kansas. And once I got to the University of Kansas, I fell in love from a standpoint of I knew this was the fit, because I wanted not only to go to a school to where I was going to be one of the good ones to come through. I wanted to go to a school to where I can achieve to try to be one of the greatest ones to come through. And that was my goal. I set out from that from day one that I got there, and I wanted to make sure that I motivate each and every guy that was there.
Well, your positivity and your energy just exudes off the screen, and man, you can tell why you're a winner and why you have so many records. But I want you to talk about how, when you're back this weekend, I hopefully you get a chance to talk to the team and talk about your journey, talk about how when you came to Kansas, it was a low point, and you got it up to a point in 1991 where we're consistently winning. Then we had some bad times, and Mark Mangino brought it back. And then after Mangino left, we had 3 or 4 bad things with coaching staffs, and now we're right back at it. And you wanted to be part of the solution, and you were part of it. But I really hope you get an opportunity to talk to our guys, because, you look at the Devin Neals and the Jalen Daniels and the guys that have been here back when we won one game, and now they're experiencing success, and it's so fun, and you can relate to that. And so, again, I hope that you're able to convey your journey and your story to our guys, because it's exactly what they're going through.
So, and it's so ironic that you speak on that, because it was just 2 years ago 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, or a year ago, I came back to the University of Kansas because I came back because they had a new ceremony that we had started, the raising the flag ceremony. And I was the first person to participate in that. I was the first person to raise the flag and kick off the new tradition. And Coach asked Stuckey, would I be willing to speak to the team? And I said, I would love to. I would love it. And I got in the arena and I saw all the nice amenities that these young men had, with the new indoor turf stadium, the locker rooms, all this stuff that they had that we didn't have. We didn't have all the nice amenities. So I spoke to them. And one thing I did relate to them, I relayed my journey and my feelings and the way I felt about the University of Kansas. And that my journey was like their journey. It was a journey to where I came in not a winner. I came in as a loser. And that's what they call you when you're not having a winning season. It's a losing season. Came in as a winner, but I was determined. The way I came in was not going to be the way that I go out. I was in control of all that. Me, not no one else. Me and every guy that's in that locker room each and every day had a responsibility to each other. That's my brother. I am my brother's keeper. I'm going to do my job. You do your job. And if that happens, we all will leave out in our senior year as a winner. And it was so ironic that the Missouri game was that game to determine if we were going to be winners. Hollywood couldn't have written a better script when it comes to determining if we were going to be winners or losers going out.
And Tony, look, man, you got to take us there because you hinted at it. But, when you think about people that go into Hall of Fames, Ring of Honors, a lot of times their full body of work is taken into consideration, which indeed you had a full body of work. But I'm hard-pressed to think of another player, particularly football, that had a more iconic individual performance that culminated the end of their career in those 58 carries, 390 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and a win against your blood curdling rival. Now, a lot of times, sometimes guys can put up those big individual numbers for a loss, but it was a win on senior day against your rival. Take us back to that moment on what it was like.
Oh man, it was Missouri. Technically, the momentum started the night before in Kansas City. We were at the W at the time. We at the hotel, and we're sitting in there. This was the last night that seniors would get a chance to speak, and everybody voted for me to speak first. And I don't know why they did that, because once I go on first, it was gonna be hard to come after me. I'm gonna tell you that. And I got up there and I'm talking to them, because you got to understand my journey started with my wife and children also at the University of Kansas in my junior year. I brought them up. So now when you think about it, here I am, I'm a student, I'm an athlete, I'm a father. And then I was a community person that believed in uplifting the surrounding community, which was Lawrence, in this area at the University of Kansas. So I held all those hats, and I wanted to make sure that they understood how I appreciate each and every one of them for embracing that in me. And we talked about it, and I got into it. And as I got into it, we got so emotional as a group of guys. I say, this would be fitting if we end this in style. And ended it in style would be to beat the University of Missouri and show them that the University of Kansas is on its way to changing how people around the country see us. Because there was only, at that time, 102 universities, major universities. And we was always flip-flopping with K-State, 101 and 102. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to be considered a winner. When I leave, when I look back at my senior year, I say, guess what? I laid a brick at the University of Kansas. I made history at the University of Kansas. So when I took my grandchildren back a year or so ago, I was able to take them around and let them understand, hey, listen, man, see this tradition that you see? Your grandfather was a part of this, a great part of this. with the guys that he came in to this university with. And I it's so ironic that Pat Rule at the time said, okay, no one else is going to speak. Don't let no one speak. This is enough. Let's get there and let's go to work. Went to bed that night and I slept on this. I slept on being successful. Now, mind you, the week before, people don't realize this, I sat on the sideline when I watched Nebraska, and I think it was Calvin Jones, rush for like 290 yards. And I said to myself as I'm sitting on the sideline, man, that is a running back's dream. Mind you, I had 217 yards before, 230, but 290 just seemed different. And I'm looking at him like, God, man, I would love to have a game like that. Not knowing that following week, I would change the way college football rushing landscape must look like. And I got in that game, man, and we were going at halftime. You got to remember the game was close. It was only a 1 point difference at halftime. But then it was brought to Coach Mason's attention. You know, Tony probably is at a record now because I think I had 25 carries at halftime. And he said, Tony, and Mason was not a big guy on records. It just wasn't his style. And we got going in the third quarter. And Tim Allen came to him, hey, listen, we saw that Tony is close to a Big 8 record. And he said, he bought me over. He said, they say you're close to a Big 8 record. What do you want to do? I looked up at him. First thing I told him, let's go for it, Coach. Let's go get it. Let's go get it. And as we started rolling, we started going. The team got in it. I remember Gilbert Brown and Dana Stubblefield came off the field and they said, guess what, guys? We got to get the ball back so we can get this record. So that's why I tell people that was a team effort because the defense understood time was running out. So they had to go in there and get a 3 and out, get the ball back so we can get the ball on offense and we could continue to pound them. And we kept going. And lo and behold, we didn't know it popped up. Last was a toss sweep to the left side. I stand and that sometime when I come back, I go and stand on that side frequently in that same spot that I set that record at because I look back at it and say, man, I had one of the greatest. When you look at the amount of records that I set, guys, the amount of records that I set leaving out of the University of Kansas, I had over 17, holding or breaking over 17 records in my time at the University of Kansas, leaving it as the Big 8 Player of the Year. Who would have thought a young man like me, 5'6", 154 pounds coming into the University of Kansas would leave out as the Big 8 Player of the Year? Was unbelievable. It was, like I said, everybody, the crowd got into it. It was one of the most memorable moments that I would ever embark my life on. I got, as a matter of fact, here in my office, I was given that play sheet. I have that play sheet to this day. And I really went for 400 yards, but I lost 4 yards in the game. And I said, man, I was talking about them 4 yards. I talk about them 4 yards now. Man, how did I? And then Coach got booed. Coach Mason got booed when they went to taking me out because they took me out with a minute and something still left to go in the game. And so he was like, I thought the media was going to eat me up. I think the media going to eat me up as me and him because he had never took a player into the locker room with him at a press conference. But that day, I guess it was different. It was especially said, you got to go with it. So we go with it. And he's like, they're going to kill me. And that's all he was saying. They're going to rip me up for letting you do this. We get in there. First question asked. The first question they asked him, why you didn't let him go for 400 yards? And he was like, and then by this time I'm thinking, I looked up at him, yeah, Coach, why you didn't let me go for 400 yards? Because I told him, I said, it just seemed different when it says 400 versus 396, even though it's only 4 yards away. I can stretch my body out and learn to get 4 yards. But it just seemed different. But at that time, you got to remember that record stood for like 8 to 9 years. And the carries still stand to this day. When I go to Atlanta sometime, and some of the youth around here in South Florida that I train, they go to Atlanta, they'll send me a picture. Coach, I seen your ball in the College Hall of Fame. And to say, like I say, my life couldn't have went a better strip when it comes to playing at the University of Kansas. I would never change it. I would never change the course of my life for nothing. I was blessed. And not only being blessed, and I used, over the course of years, people used to say, man, they don't have you in the Hall of Fame. They don't have you in the Ring of Honor yet. I say, no, but I say, I'm quite sure it'll come. I say, I don't think about it. I knew what I did here, and those that were around me knew what I did. And that was just satisfying to me enough. But the one thing about this, guys, that a lot of people probably haven't even thought about it. I thought about it probably about 2 weeks ago. There's not many guys that can say the number that they're being inducted in. I'm being inducted as the 24th inductee, and I wore the number 24 at the University of Kansas. This is why I say sometimes we want something faster and better. We want it now. But sometimes it's not in the cards for us to get it time. And that's what, to me, that's what even makes this more special, because I'm going in under the number that I wore. That's unbelievable.
Well, your story, everything that goes into it, your journey, so cool. Talk about who you're bringing back with. Talk about your family a little bit, who you're bringing back with you. I know some of your teammates. I know Chip Hillary's going to be here this weekend. I, for one, was a skinny little freshman in 1991 at that game, and I was there on the east side cheering you on. It was so cool. And again, growing up in this area, knowing how bad Kansas football was in the late 80s, to get to that point in 1991 you mentioned guys like Gilbert Brown and Dana Stubblefield, Chris Mamalanga, Kyle Moore. I mean, we had you had a defensive line
that was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. But this weekend's got to be so exciting for you. Talk about who you're going to have with you. And I was going to ask you, what was your most memorable moment in Memorial Stadium? And I think you just went over that. It had to be the Missouri game, because it's such a great story, as Wayne pointed out, with the, not just the numbers, but who you beat.
Yes.
For all Kansas people, we thank you, because that right there than the throw of the individual stuff. But this weekend's going to be all about you, and kind of talk about who you're going to have with you.
I'm fortunate enough to have over 15 family members that are coming back. My wife, my daughter, her family, my grandchildren, my brother-in-law, his wife, my assistant. Everybody is, and not only that, right now, my Uncle Michael Irvin is trying to rearrange his schedule to attend. And it's so crazy, because I looked at late night, because I got to go over to late night. They want me to come over to the late night to the basketball event. And I looked on the internet, and I said, okay, late night. And my friend, my guy, is the one, a good hometown guy of mine, is performing, and that's Flo Rida. Flo Rida is a good buddy of mine. I put up a picture with me and him the other day on my social media, speaking about, man, this is why I say this is divine, because my buddy,
it was meant to be.
Yes, my buddy is performing, and it is my induction weekend. Like I told, I say, man, this is divine. 24, Flo Rida's coming. Like I say, my uncle will find out today if he can arrange his schedule to fly in, because he has to do the show on Sunday morning in California. So it's going to, like I say, and then not only that, Coach Mason called me. You got to remember the AD that's at the University of Central Florida started his GA career out at Kansas. Me and him were close. As a matter of fact, that's when I came back and did a little stint of coaching. Me and him wrote to the coaches convention in Dallas together. Tim Allen, who was over administration, he's coming back. Coach Mason called me. He's coming back. Pat Rule called me. He's coming back. I even went so far as to, we've had some fallen Jayhawks in our time. We've had Keith Lonergan, Hesley Hempstead, and Roger Robin. These are guys that were on the offensive side of the ball. We reached out to their families to represent them at this event. This is how my teammates and how it meant to me to reach an invitation out. Hey, listen, I would like to have somebody represent them, because as I tell everybody, each one of my guys that called me when they found out and wanted to congratulate you, thank you for, man, you congratulations, you're going in. And the one thing I told them, and I still say it, I said, guys, no, I'm not going in. We are going in. This is a we effort. This was done by us, not by me. Not by me alone. We are going in. We made it in. That term that we came in together, we won together. Now we go on the wall together. Yeah, it'll be my name, but it represents each and every guy from the walk-ons. And I remember, I had great relationship with walk-on guys. 2 guys I remember to this day that were walk-ons, and people don't tend to, remember your walk-on, but it's Jay Ligging and Garrett White. I even reached out to them. Hey, man, I'm going in, because this is what this means. It means everybody that went on, those guys that was on the scout team, everything. This was special. And I always, like I told Coach Mason when I spoke to him on the phone, Coach, I thank you. I thank you for taking a chance on a guy like myself, a guy that's 5'6", 150 pounds, going into the Big 8 conference, which was the best conference in America. Like I tell people, what they see in the SEC now was the Big 8 then. We were the conference of national champions. And that's what we had to go up against. Had to go up against these guys each and every year. So I tell him, I thank him, I thank Pat Rule, I thank Tim Allen. I think, and this is how small you go to thinking and how small it go. I thank my professors. I know some of them, Jan Sheldon, Tina Blue, Miss Kathleen Gabriel, who was over academics at the University of Kansas. I hold a special piece in my heart for her, because it was the cause of this lady believing in me academically was the reason I was able to get my college degree at the University of Kansas. And that's what carries me to this day, is that, I tell people, I got a lot of records, but I got a degree also. Understand that degree goes, and I have my degree also up in my office, because it meant a lot to me as a young man. And if you look over my shoulder, you can see I wrote a book a year ago. And the title of my book was I Was Before My Time. And it gets into my struggles, how I was able to come and play at the University of Kansas, have success in life after football, and things, how things are going now. And I wanted to put that in a book. And that was a great accomplishment for me. To be able to say that I'm an author signifies that my life as an athlete, at that time as a student. And, it's been a great journey. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've been blessed. I've been truly blessed in every aspect of life, academically, athletically, and to be coming back to the University of Kansas on the 6th and the 7th, and to spend this time with everybody. I mean, everybody, from the fans, because everybody took place. It was a special place in my heart for everyone that went in that stadium that were fans of the University of Kansas. It would be a special time this weekend. It's special, guys.
I know I speak for Wayne, the passion, the enthusiasm that you exude. I don't know how you're not on the speaking circuit to go speak to businesses. I would run through a wall for you, and that's just in the 20 minutes we've been talking. I appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to seeing you and your whole crew. You deserve every bit of admiration that you're going to get this weekend. It's going to be a sellout at the booth. We got Central Florida. You mentioned the athletic director at Central Florida, Terry Mahajer, is who was here. He worked in the Williams Fund. He worked for football.
Yes.
And he's gone on to great things. He's now the AD at Central Florida. So we'll welcome him back and shake his hand and all that. But hopefully,
but we got to beat him still. We still got to beat him. He's a friend. It's one of those guys. Okay, now I'm gonna slightly shake your hand a little bit, but you understand that when I'm shaking your hand, I'm gonna squeeze it enough to let you know that we got a job to do. We got to beat you. We'll celebrate after we done beat you. We'll come back together. But listen, guys, this is a dream come true for me.
Well, and the one last thing I want to touch on that you said I thought was great was it is the Gilbert Browns and Dana Stubblefields and all that, but it's also the managers and the trainers and the academic staff and the coaches. Wayne and I are part of the brotherhood of Kansas athletics, more specifically Kansas basketball. We didn't play together. Tony, you and I didn't play together, but I think we all have a bond as guys that went through this program through Kansas athletics, and there's definitely a brotherhood. And again, it spans all over the map. Again, it's not just the quarterback and the best player. It's everybody. It takes a community. It takes a village for sure.
That it did. And I think the village that I was blessed to be in, that every person in that village believed in me, and every person in that building, from Lynn Bott, who, as you say, was the trainer. See, I have a great memory of everybody that I was there with, man, because they touched my life in some type of way.
Well, Wayne and I need to get with whoever does the commercials for the university. Get this guy.
Yes.
This is talk about his passion. Get everyone to come to Kansas, whether it's football, whether it's whatever it is. You're a great Jayhawk. We're looking forward to seeing your name go up.
Oh man!
And then it's going to go up in the new stadium, which is going to be
even better.
This is going to be your last look at it.
Look at it. Yes.
Tony, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
To seeing you.
Yeah, congrats,
Friday,
Tony.
Thank you.
And Saturday, Central Florida.
Rock and roll. Rock Chalk Jayhawk KU.
It was late, and one of my patients was having trouble sleeping. He was feeling uneasy, he told me. I asked him, "Is there anything I can do to help?" I'm pretty sure he's the only patient ever to ask me to dance at 2 a.m. But sometimes, being the best nurse I can be is just being the best person I can be.
All right, back here on the Jayhawker Podcast, Greg Gurley, Wayne Simeon, brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System and the downtown President Hilton Hotel. Get down there for concerts, Big 12 tournament, Wichita State, December 30th. Get a room at the President Hilton Hotel, right across the street from Power and Light, 2 blocks from the T-Mobile Center. Wayne and I just had one of the most positive guys you're ever going to be around in Tony Sands, going up in the Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, Tony Sands. And now we're joined by another inductee, Nick Reid. Nick, welcome to the Jayhawker Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on, and excited to see where this goes with us today.
No pressure, no need to be as energetic and positive as Tony Sands, because he's an offensive guy. You're a defensive guy, all right? You were the anchor of a linebacker core from early 2000s, roughly around 01 to 05 when I was in school there. I remember watching all the snaps. I remember all those things. Obviously, you got to be elated to be able to go up into the Ring of Honor, which is an incredible accomplishment. But you stand out a little bit more so than any other name out there defensively, because we've had some really good ones, Nick, right? We've got guys like Dana Stubblefield, Akeem Talib, Daryl Stuckey, right? Guys that had incredible careers. But you're the only one to go into the Ring of Honor that has been crowned Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. So as if the accomplishment and the honor wasn't enough, how does it feel to be set out just a little bit further apart than some of your other peers whose names are up there?
Yeah, it's definitely pretty wild to me. I look at the names up there, and honestly, I don't feel like I should be up there with those guys. I mean, they're some of the best, and not only have played at KU, but to play in the NFL and had just unbelievable careers. So to have my name even, be in the same sentence, be in the same ring, be in the same stratosphere as those guys is just an incredible feeling, a sense of pride for sure.
So, Nick, how much do you follow Kansas football? You're at your 12th year at Missouri Southern State down in Joplin, Missouri, but I know you're always going to be a Jayhawk. How much do you watch? How tough has it been over the last 10 of the last 12 years? And now, how cool is it to see the success that your alma mater is having?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've missed a game since I've been done playing. We tune in every year. We've been season ticket holders now for a few years, try to get up to as many games as we can. We just slide in, sit up in the bowl, just like a normal fan, and then get out of there. And it's been a tough 10 or 12 years, though. There were some hard times for sure. But here recently, we're back, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been great to see him grinding and working, and Coach Leipold has done a great job with the team. It's just been a lot of fun to get back on the winning side and be competitive and know every week we go into games that we have a chance to win them.
Now, Nick, you're a Kansas native from the Wichita area, played high school ball at Derby, which has been a high school powerhouse for years. It's actually interesting because I remember when you were killing it at quarterback down there, and then made the transition to defense. But during that time, obviously in the recruiting period, K-State and their football program was noted and elevated far above what Kansas was at the time. What was it about Kansas and maybe the appeal to build something of your own that drew you to want to become a Jayhawk?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold for me. I always enjoy being a part of something from the ground up. It's pretty easy to jump into something that's already established and kind of keep it rolling. But to be a part of the ground floor and really put in the hard work, something I've just always enjoyed doing, just laying that foundation for years to come and teams to come. The second part of that was coming out of my senior year. I tore my MCL, and so I missed quite a bit of the season, my senior year in football. And so when it came down to it, a lot of people jumped ship on me. And Coach Mangino and KU were one of the ones that stuck with me the whole time and stuck in there with the scholarship offer and came to the house and had great conversations. And I just knew that was a place that I wanted to be, and I wanted to be a part of it, and I wanted to be a part of what they were building.
Well, your career culminated with a Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, first team All Big 12, and a third team All-American in 2005. And that's, like Wayne said, in a linebacker core that included the Kevin Kanes and the Banks Floodman, and you stood out from them. Talk about your time here with Coach Mangino, the rebirth, the rebuild, and you guys got it to a point now. Unfortunately, as we talked with Tony Sands, over the last 30 years, we've had those peaks and valleys. We haven't been able to sustain success. I think we're all in agreement that Lance Leipold and his staff have done an unbelievable job. But let's go back to the 18 years ago in 2005 when you guys got it to that point.
Yeah. So coming in my first year, we were 2-10. We lost to K-State 64-0. It was sleeting. It was rainy. It was miserable. It was the hardest sports season I had ever had in my life. And I'd be lying if I didn't say there wasn't a little bit of doubt that kind of creeps in when things start like that. And that's how your college career starts. You're taking whooping after whooping every year. But we stayed the course. Mangino was tough. He stayed on us. He saw the vision. He had the vision. And we stuck to it, and we believed in him. The assistant coaches, Coach Dorn, who's at NC State now, was my linebackers coach. Coach Young was an unbelievable defensive coordinator. So not only was Mangino a great coach, but his assistants that he had on the sideline with him were some of the best to ever do it. Coach Bowen was there. Just a really, really good staff that believed in us. We believed in them. We persevered and, ended up going to 2 bowl games in the 4 years that I was there and really kind of got that program turned back around to some of its former glory days.
Gosh, as you mentioned that, man, that was a who's who from, coordinator to position coaches just to the linebacker core and the rest of the cast there. And having to play in such an offensive-driven Big 12 where night in and night out, folks are trying to hang 40, 60 on you. What were some of the key ingredients that you guys had to have and possess defensively, man, to really step up to that challenge each and every Saturday, and particularly you as a captain, as the anchor for that incredible defense?
Yeah, I mean, Big 12 was a little bit different back when I played. I'm getting pretty old. I'll be 40 in about a month and a half. So it was a little bit more smash mouth, a little bit more pro style, a little bit less spread, just sling it all over the field, which I think is a little bit easier to stop. I think you can kind of load up the box. You can stop the run, make teams turn into passing teams, and you can kind of pin your ears back and really get after them defensively and do some different things blitz-wise. To play in today's game, I think would be about the toughest thing you got to do with athletes all over the field trying to tackle in space. That's extremely hard to do. So I'm just grateful as a 6'4" white guy that's not the fastest in the world that I didn't have to try to cover guys all over the field and run around chasing 4.2 speed athletes out in space trying to make tackles, because I'm not sure we'd be having this conversation.
It's so fitting because Tony Sands wrote his book. He was ahead of his time for the style of running back he was. You fit right in your time capsule now because you're not having to get from sideline to sideline. You're just right there plugging gaps and getting sacks.
100%, absolutely. And you talk about the guys I played with. You got Banks Floodman, you got Kevin Kane. Those guys ate up a bunch of blocks so I could go and make the tackles. The defensive lineman, Dave McMillan, Charlton Keith, Tony Allen, T. Watt, like you mentioned, all those guys, man. It's without them, none of this would be possible for sure.
Well, I asked Tony this question: who will be with you this weekend, as far as family, former teammates that will be there to honor you going up in that Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I've got family coming in. My sister and her family are coming down from Detroit. My brother and his family are coming up from Derby. My parents will be there, going to come out on the field with me. I got friends from all over the country, from Oregon to Houston. Teammates from all over have reached out and said they're coming back. I've never really been a self-promoter, so I didn't put a lot of things out there. My wife has done a good job of putting it on Facebook. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't really do Twitter. I do it for my high school sports just because I know the kids are into it. But as far as me personally, I just assume we do this. We have our face-to-face. We reach out. We have conversations like we used to back in the old days. But there's a lot of people that are going to be there, and it's going to be a lot of fun to reach out and get to see a bunch of guys that I haven't really seen for quite a while.
Now, Nick, again, thinking back to Tony Sands and his conversation, he got a chance to highlight obviously one of his top games against Missouri when he had all those carries and touchdowns and whatnot. But I like how in your senior season, you got a chance to beat Missouri in Memorial Stadium. I was there, which was great. But then you followed that with a signature win against Nebraska. And I remember that was especially meaningful to the whole Jayhawk Nation because for years and years and years, Nebraska would roll in here. They would turn our stadium red. They would hang up a bunch of points on us. They would patronize us on the way out. Oh, hey, nice try. Good luck to you guys. You're building a program. But your senior year, man, you guys got a chance to put the smack down on them. What was that like for that type of signature win for your career?
No, absolutely. Going back to Mizzou real quick, we beat them 3 out of the 4 years I was there. So that's something I'm especially proud of. But then beating Nebraska, I think it was the first time in 36 years that KU had beaten Nebraska. And it was just an unbelievable feeling. Kevin had an interception that game. I tackled him into the end zone. I got a great picture of the two of us in the end zone celebrating, and that just kind of capped off that whole day. Everything that could have went right for us went right. It was everything came together just at the perfect time, and man, that was a heck of a time. It was a great memory that I will definitely have with me forever.
Well, we had a tough weekend last weekend in Austin, but looking forward to a packed booth, not only to spur on our guys to get back in the win column, but to honor you and Tony. So looking forward to having you and your family members and your teammates back and giving you an honor that you so deserve. And it's going to be cool to go up in the stadium, which will be somewhat temporary because we're getting ready to have a new stadium here in a couple of years. But really excited to see you. You've been, like you said, over the last 12 years, you've become a season ticket holder. You're not a big fanfare guy. You sit in the North Bowl with your family, and I think that's so cool. And man, just proud of you. Looking forward to seeing you. Can't wait for you to get the ovation that you deserve and the honor of going up into our stadium.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. It's going to definitely be a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm excited I can share it with my family and friends, and we can all be a part of it. And, to think that my name's going to be up there for my kids and their grandkids and so on down the line is just it's an overwhelming feeling, honestly, that name's going to live up there for forever. And it's not just me, it's everybody that was a part of it. And then there's so many people. I caught the end of Tony Sands speaking, and it's so true. It takes a village. And I had a lot of injuries when I played. I wasn't very nice on my body, and our trainers, Carol and Craig, were just unbelievable in keeping me out on the field as much as I was. And the doctors, Dr. McGee and Dr. Snyder, who put me back together when I had to have my knee surgeries and my ankle surgeries, just unbelievable guys. And Paul Buskirk in the academic support service, man, I love that guy. He did so much for me, more than he'll ever know, because frankly, I wasn't really a great student coming into it. And he made sure that he stayed on me, and I graduated. And, just the list goes on and on with people that had a hand in my name going up there. And it truly is one of those things, like Tony said as well. It's my name up there, but it's everybody up there. And I hope that when people see it, they have a sense of pride as well, knowing that they played a huge role in that.
Yeah, we don't talk about the trainers very much, except last year when the Kansas City Chiefs trainer became the most famous person in the country because she was able to get him back. That doesn't happen with a Nick Reid or a whoever, but it is true. They are so important to everyone's success, and I'm glad that you and Tony recognize them because they deserve it. But Nick, again, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. Looking forward to seeing you and your family and all your supporters. It'll be your day. Kansas is going to get back in the win column.
Here we are.
And we're going to go out and celebrate Saturday night in Lawrence somewhere. Sound good?
That sounds great. I appreciate you guys having me on here. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. And I definitely think we're going to get back in the win column this weekend.
Love it. Rock Chalk. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Rock Chalk. Thank you, guys.
That was Nick Reid going into the Ring of Honor along with Tony Sands Saturday at the booth, 3:00, Central Florida. They're coming off a couple losses, but man, but still, we know Central Florida, like we talked about with Tony Sands. You think about the breadth of talent that is in that area, and they're not all going to Miami. They're not all going to Florida State. A lot of them go to Central Florida, and we've got to be ready because the last thing you want to have a fight with is a wounded dog. And right now, I think that's UCF.
Yeah, certainly after coming off a devastating and embarrassing loss to Baylor as they blew a huge lead and gave up a win. And they're looking to come in and spoil and rain on the parade at KU. And of course, Terry Mahazer, the AD there, who has a ton of Kansas City and KU ties. A lot of folks to see, family to see, but it's coming here to handle the business as well and get the win. But hey, if we can have one guy on the offensive side of the ball and one guy on the defense side of the ball play in the manner that our two guests played during their career, I think we're going to be just fine. And I'm certainly fine with a big time performance out of Devin Neal or a big time defensive performance from a guy like Rich Miller in honor of these two. And that's really what happens, right, Greg? You get these former greats coming back, and you experience it when you was a player as well as I. When these guys come back, and we've got notable guys coming back to be on the sideline to watch and to be honored, like the stakes elevate a little bit, right? Like you want to certainly play. Obviously, you want to play. You want to win every game. You want to compete well. But the stakes are higher, and you want to elevate your game and play in honor of those guys who are being honored in a moment like we'll see on Saturday.
Yeah, and I'm sure our coaching staff will say exactly what you just said. Say, hey, these guys built the foundation. You guys are here because of them. Make sure you respect them enough to give it everything you have, which I have no question they're going to do. But it's going to take an effort to where, last week you and I haven't really talked about the game last week because we've had Tony and Nick on, but just to put a little cap on it, frustrating ending, but we got a take the positives out of last week, where it's a 6-point game in the middle of the third quarter. We've got that 4th and 1. Things don't work out, and then it kind of snowballed. But man, no Jalen Daniels. Jason Bean comes in, does a great job. The defense was great, and they just couldn't.
Really
It was a battle of attrition, and sometimes they're on the field so much, and we know the kind of athletes that Texas throws at you, and it got out of hand at the end. But man, what a great job by our defense on the road. It was hotter than hell down there, like 115 on the field, feels like. So give them a ton of credit. Hopefully we're back to full strength on Saturday. Don't really know where we're at yet here. The filming of this podcast is Tuesday, so hopefully we can get that all figured out and go from there. But it's going to be a great atmosphere. 2 legends going up in the Ring of Honor. The booth should be packed and better be packed. Obviously, there's been a big initiative to make sure that happens. These guys deserve it. You and I talk about it every episode. Please get to the booth. No excuses. 3:00 Saturday, Central Florida.
Yeah, there's something going on Friday night. If I got it right on my calendar.
What is it? I have to do my math here. What number is this? It started in 1985.
I don't know. You were the first one, right?
I actually wasn't. I was at like the 2nd or 3rd. I remember the band Kansas performed in the North Bowl, where the students sit at Allen Fieldhouse. They had Larry Bud Melman there, which you're too young for that, but he was a mainstay on the Letterman show. So anyway, Tony Sands' guy, Flo Rida, will be there. Some people pronounce it Flo Ritter or Rida. How do you say it?
Rida,
like with an H. We already talked about this. You can name several songs. My House, Get Down for Real. What else?
Those are the two mainstays.
Those are the 2. Okay. Well, it's going to be great. Late night is always a spectacle. It's always, we're going to get to show off the new lights. The Kansas Allen Fieldhouse went through got all LED lights, and they can, the facilities guys are all excited. And Mike Licker to kind of have a new toy, new speakers, new lights. Next year, we're going to see a new scoreboard, video boards in the corner. But Allen Fieldhouse is going to only be louder with more manufactured noise, which is the new speaker system. But looking forward to that unveiling on Friday night, and then the big one on Saturday. We can get our 5th win, get back in the win column, and then go to Oklahoma State the following weekend before our bye. And so a lot going on. Kansas volleyball swept Houston, top 20 ranked Houston. Those were fun matches to watch. A 5-set thriller in the first match, and then took care of business quick and easy. Well, not easy, but 3-0 in that second one. So now 3-1 on the Big 12 season. Dropped an unfortunate one down in Lubbock, but man, Ray's got them playing well. And so doing a lot of good things as we talk every week with Kansas Athletics.
Yeah, can't forget about cross country. Also, Chandler Gibbons, big time performance, dubbed the National Athlete of the Week in NCAA. And look, man, during football season and volleyball season, it's when a cross country guy can step up and claim that type of award. That's some serious performances right there. So we look forward to having him on the show here before too long.
A lot of positives all throughout our building. Looking forward to Friday. Looking forward to Saturday. It just keeps going. And I think we're going to get some fall football weather. As I check my app, it looks like it's going to be like in the mid 60s. So no more just sweating through everything. It'll be real kind of crispy fall weather, not too cold, but not too hot. So get out on the hill. Love these afternoon games. You got an opportunity to get up there, tailgate, start some, do some grilling, the smells and the changing of the seasons. It's just going to be fantastic. I can't wait for this weekend. You're what do you got this weekend? We're gonna miss you, aren't we? You got a big kid stuff.
Yeah,
is that right?
Big oldest daughter's turning 16, so we're taking her on a little trip to celebrate her 16-year-old birthday. But we'll certainly be following along, cheering on the Jayhawks from where we'll be.
Well, another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast in the books, brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System and the Downtown President Hotel. Go see Philip Stranad, downtown Kansas City, renovated rooms, drum room. We'll be there in a couple months when we play Wichita State, having our brown waters as we celebrate the Jayhawks in downtown Kansas City and bring it in the new year at the President Hotel. I am Greg Gurley, along with Wayne Simeon, Jayhawker Podcast. We are out. See you next week. Rock Chalk.